have the honor to represent these two great people, great couple, great parents. I'm not so happy, I'm not so excited. I don't know how to find the words to express my feelings. Today I cried in front of the Celine because these days for me are wow. And I'm happy to be with you tonight, and I can't wait to hear all the stories and all the things that they can share with us. This is Celine, she's 40, and this is Xavier. I forgot your age. They have great two daughters, Naila, she's 9, and Phoebe, she's 4. 5, excuse me. And when you are near that kids, you can feel that energy, and you will hear where that kids went all over the world, and they can tell us great stories about their life and way of living their life. Thank you being here with us tonight, and Druženje.
Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for welcoming us.
So thank you very much. We're very, we feel very grateful to be here tonight with you and with you also. And it's also an honor to share our story with you. And yeah, I hope you can get. You'll have plenty of questions, but also plenty of questions maybe for, for some ideas in your life also.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I hope everybody will enjoy it this evening.
Mi smo ovo zamislili kao jedno onako druženje, da možemo čisto da se upoznamo, da porazgovaramo. Mi ćemo vrlo brzo pustiti jedan filmić, čisto da se malo bolje upoznamo sa njima. A do tada, evo, ja ću da pitam naše goste, šta bi sebi rekli da su sada na početku?
What would you tell to yourself if you were at the beginning of your trip?
Exactly what I told myself when we left, because when we left, I had the idea to cycle all by myself from Switzerland all the way to New Zealand, and it was my idea. I wanted to discover the culture, the world, and I left for a journey. And we met together with Celine, and just 1 year before we left, and we spoke about traveling, about where I wanted to go, and we were a couple very fast. And one day she asked me, "Can I come with you to your project?" And I say yes. And 1 year after, we left on our bicycle, and the journey we thought we will do turned out of our way of life. So it became really a way of life.
Yeah, I think if you have told me that we'll be cycling for 12 years, maybe I would not go. Yeah, I can't imagine. I could never imagine. I could never have imagined that our 2 daughters would be born along the way. That we'd be cycling through so many landscapes that it's impossible to imagine. And it's amazing because our small project become really a way of life, a way of living, and it's impressive what life gave us, what life, the paths that life showed us.
May I ask a question about that? Okay, because I remember when I started 11 years ago, my idea was to cycle around 50 years around the world and then come back and write a book and become famous. Such a thing, yeah. But then somewhere in first year, although I had a lot of problems, I ran out of money, my boyfriend, he left me, I found myself alone in the middle of Albania, you know, with all stereotypes about being a lone woman in a Muslim country and things like that. And but it was somewhere during the first year when what was I think the hardest year since I'm on the road. But I remember moments, I don't remember where was that exactly, but I remember exactly moment, I had some problem, I remember that, and I tried to figure out how to fix it, and then I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, although I have problem, and I never felt that before in my previous life. So then next question was like, okay, if you're so happy, why you want to continue doing this? Why do you still have plans to be like 3 years? And then I decide that moment I become nomad. So my question is, do you remember, of course you couldn't imagine that you're going to stay on the road for 12 years and give a birth to kids, and I mean, nobody can imagine something like that. Nobody plans something like that, right? Do you remember that moment when you realize that you don't want to go back in your conventional life?
Yeah, it was in Kazakhstan for me, but you can explain.
Okay, so I think that after about 1.5 years along the way, we were in Kazakhstan, and somehow both of us, we felt that you know, so like there were stages. So when you leave like that on a trip, the first 3 months was very hard, especially because we didn't know each other so much as a couple. We only met a year before we left.
Same story. So congratulations.
Wow. So it was there was a lot of things we had to speak about, and so the first 3 months were quite intense, and then you're doing a new life, so it's very hard. And then I remember being in Tajikistan, and we cycled in the Pamir Highway. It was 4,000 meter elevation, very wide landscape, and we crossed this pass and hiked up a little bit. We were around 5,000 meter elevation, and I remember really thinking, I'm really at the right place with the right man. And I felt that, yes, that's yes to this adventure. And a few months later, I went in Kazakhstan, and then it was even a bigger yes, because we felt at that time also that it was more than a journey. It was becoming a way of life. We were becoming nomads.
Yeah, exactly.
And that time we felt, okay, we're nomad. And this is why, because of that we thought, a few months later again, we thought, well, if we are nomads, this is our life, And if a baby wants to come, why not? So we didn't plan to have a baby, we just opened the door. We said, if a baby wants to come, why not? And then I think Naila was pretty excited to come, so she said, yes, I'm here, I'm coming. And that's how Naila came. Yeah.
Wow. You just allow things to happen, allow life to happen.
Yeah, trusting life and just follow the flow and the
flow.
Yeah. And
interesting. That's happened to me also in Central Asia, somewhere in Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan. I'm not sure, but that was exactly there. That's what I remember.
Oh yeah,
something there.
It's amazing. There's a special energy there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think in Kyrgyzstan there's many places where you can really be in nature, and I really remember there was a few special times for us. One was when we were cycling in Tajikistan. We just crossed the border, and you can imagine we spent more than 2 weeks in a very high altitude. It was rock and sand most of the times because you're above 4,000 meter elevation. And we cross this border, and you go down to Kyrgyzstan, and it's floating rivers, it's green grass, it's yak herds, it's so beautiful. I remember cycling with a herd of horses galloping, with eagle flying above me, with the high palmier behind me that are as high as 7,000 meter elevation. So there's something very, very special there, just at the border. And then we really enjoy also Sonkol. We have a great story about Sonkol. So Sonkol is a lake at 3,000 meter elevation. And when we arrived there, you can imagine there's about, I don't know, 10, 20 yachts around the lake. And the lake is about
200 kilometers? 200 kilometers?
Circumference. So there's no one. There's a few yachts, there's a few herd of horses galloping. And we arrived there and we cycled, and then we just said, okay, let's just put our tent there. We could have put it anywhere. But we put our tent, pitch our tent, we sit and have our traditional tea as we usually do, and we're enjoying the beautiful landscape. And at that moment, two horsemen arrived, and they came down. And then they started speaking to us, and they were speaking in Kyrgyz and Russian. So we knew a few both, so we could kind of understand what they were saying. And it took them an hour to explain us that there was going to be 200 yachts that were going to be built right where we were. And we looked around, and there was nothing. And, they came with a bottle of vodka, so we thought, maybe we didn't quite understand, maybe they just wanted a drink. But we thought, if in 3 days there's a big festival with 200 yachts, we need to see that. So we waited.
We had the biggest nomad festival in the world, right?
Yeah, and we actually put our tent right in the middle of the festival. And 200 yachts were built just around us. And we had the chance to experiment the traditional sport, there's the sort of buskakshi, so it's a two team of 6 horse riders that tried to catch the dead body of a goat that had been decapitated. So it's very impressive, and so that was a very special place because it's beautiful, but also because of how things happened. And I think in Kyrgyzstan there's a magic somewhere in these people that are still semi-nomads for half of the year, and sometimes going on a spiritual journey, it's not necessarily going in one place, but it's really letting life showing you the way, for me.
Pošto je Željko Novaković, koji nam se skoro priključio, je isto biciklista, jedno vreme bio izuzetno strastven i išao na ture i po 1000 i nešto kilometara. On sad ima kćerkicu koja ima, čini mi se, oko 4 godine. Ono što mene zanima kod gostiju jeste koji je vaš strah bio kad ste prvi put krenuli sa Nevom koja vam se pridružila, najavom?
What was your first fear when you started traveling with Naiva?
So, when Celine was pregnant, we were in the Himalaya, in the middle of Nepal, and we were at 5,500 meter elevation, facing the Mount Everest, and she told me she was pregnant. So after that we went down to Kathmandu and we cycled in Bangladesh, Nepal, and we were looking for a place to give birth in natural way. And we found a great doctor in Malaysia, in the small island called Penang. And we arrived there, and Naila was born in this small island. And we didn't sign anything that we have to cycle all the way to New Zealand with a baby. We just said, well, let's try and we'll see. And when she was 5 months old, we left Penang and we tried to travel, to live on our bike with a baby. But yes, for sure we had 100,000 questions to how we can manage to cycle with a small baby with us. But one day after the other, we found a solution, and we managed to cycle all the way to New Zealand first.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest difficulty was the You know, when you cycle, when you go on a trip like that, cycling, you have your house on your bike. So that means that your house is very small. And so it means that having a 5-month-old baby, you need to find ways to have everything you need, but with the less weight possible. And so the first thing to be able to live was to get things down to very little. So you can imagine a lot of people say, you know, when you have a baby, you need to have so many things. Well, when we had a baby, we had to have nothing, nearly. And it's no problem. That's actually the easiest part. The more difficult part is really to be able to, you know, there was so many questions, because every day we dive into the unknown. So even when Nyla was small, we didn't know where we're going to sleep at night. And there was so many fears about, you know, so many questions. We had no idea how it was going to be. But I remember that day, it was very special because there was a person we knew there on the island, and he became a very good friend after, but we've just met him a few times. And that day when we left, we went on our bicycle, and we have been cycling for about 20 kilometers, and then we met that man. And that man looked at me and he said, so you going? And I said, yes, I'm going. And I was not so, you know, I was kind of scared. We had, just the day before, we had a training day, and Nyla was crying the whole way. She cried for the full day, so it was a pretty bad training day. So we were leaving, and there's all these emotions. And this man looked at me and he said, but if it doesn't work, you just come back.
Yeah.
And it was very simple word, but for me, it was such a relief to hear that. And so we started, and it was very difficult at the beginning, especially emotionally, I think for me. But slowly, we found the balance between breastfeeding, being in a new culture, the weather changes, the road, Nyla's nap, like bringing all that together to be in balance, a balance that is changing all the time, of course, but that worked.
I will use this break just to say I have to go, I have to leave, I'm sorry for this, but I have to leave this chat, I have to leave this group right now, because it's already 12 at my time here.
Yeah, so hopefully we can meet you somewhere on the road.
It was nice to meet you, thank you, and Dragan and Peter, thank you for hosting them. I mean,
So, Snežo, plan part 2.
Da, part 2. A to ću ja privatno posle piva, da razvezem priču, da vas ne stvaramo. Ljubimo se.
Bye and see you tomorrow.
Uživajte.
Hvala.
Ukoliko slučaj neko ima da ne zna za Snežu, ciklonomad zaprate na YouTube, ima 350 snimaka, ali snimaka svaki je uživanje. Od Maja, od Inka, od plemena koji žive plemenski život u divljini još uvijek, pa ne znam ja do čega sve ne, tako da se stvarno dosta može saznati, spoznati i naučiti da. Ja bih sad isto da pitam naše goste, s obzirom da, kao i Snežana, kao i oni, i mi smo, vjerojatno i vi, na putu smo veoma fleksibilni. Jer jednostavno nije poenta samo stići na cilj, nego je poenta uživati u etapama dolaska do cilja. I stvari ne da pitam, nego bih zamolio goste da nam ispričaju njihovu priču za Grizzlija.
Can you tell us, please, your story about Grizzly?
What you speak?
Please, Celine.
Okay. So there's one thing that fascinates us all the time when we are on the road is, as I told you about Kyrgyzstan, there was many times where we were at the right place at the right moment for something to happen. And we call this synchronicity in life, where time and space get together, and then you have amazing things that happen in your life that can maybe change your life or that really affect your life. And so when we were cycling in Alaska and Canada. And so we were cycling in the great northern places, in the Yukon, in the great north of Canada. And in these places we are really into wilderness, and there is very long distances between any town. And we have been cycling for a few months already in this landscape. And that day we were going to reach a campground, which we usually never do because it never works. It's either too early, too late, it's too long, it's okay. So it usually doesn't, we never end up sleeping in a camping, we always wild camp. But that day we had the chance, the opportunity, so we said maybe we can relax in one of the campground. And so we arrived there, and there was a mama bear and her cub. So there was no way we could sleep there. And people told me, you know, you can't sleep there, you have to go away. And it was late in the afternoon, so we were very tired. And we said, you know, where are we going to go? Because, of course, we had to cycle quite a few kilometers not to be too close to the mama bear. And so they told us, go back. There's a small indigenous community. And we never cycle back. Usually we don't do that. So that day we said, okay, we'll cycle back. And they told us there's a small guest house where there's a platform where you could pitch your tent. So we arrived in the guest house, we pitched our tent, and we actually met the owner of this guest house. And the owner told us he was looking for someone to take care of the guest house for the winter. And this is how we spent the winter in the Great North, in a small indigenous community, more than 200 kilometers from the first food store. So it was very interesting. It was an amazing world to be really in the Great North, to be with an indigenous community, to experience what it is to live by minus 45 degrees. And we had this, it was just magic. And so it's because of this fair that we could experiment this.
How do you manage your financial things?
Yeah, so you can ask us that first question.
Because you need to live from something.
Kaže, ja bih postavio pitanje kasnije za obje porodice. Na koji način je putovanje obogatilo vašu decu? Željko Novaković.
Yep. So how we can live this life for the last 12 years? Yes, this is a good question. So we, Celine, she's a writer, I'm a photographer, so we wrote already 2 books in French, English, and even one in Japanese. And we're doing some coaching, coaching for families, for people who want to travel, for many things that people want to go through and they have some questions. And we like to share talks too, so here and there we get enough money to live this simple life. We also write for some magazine, like a bike magazine or parenting magazine, and that's how we live. And what we like to say, the last 4 words you saw, it's live, explore, share, and inspire. What we would like to do is inspire people to live what they feel inside us, to live their dream, to live what is vibrate inside us, and it's why we would like to inspire people.
Celine, would you like to say something?
No, I think it's good. I think we are creating our life as we go, and so we have a very simple life. And but we're also creating many projects, and in this project that we are creating and where we are reinventing ourselves all the time, we are also inspiring people and through different ways, and this is how we can live also.
Yes, but you live different way of life from other people, you know. But you also have disappointments. you don't live like you told me the most people like you were on a holiday. People do people really know that you have troubles, disappointments? You know.
Yeah, I think people don't really understand what it means to be nomad for so long. Mm-hmm. When we left Switzerland, I remember clearly that day. We left from Switzerland, and so we didn't left. We cycled. We started in Switzerland, and the 2 first weeks of the journey, it was pouring rain. So as if the journey was really testing us from the beginning. And we had 2 weeks of rain, of cold. We were passing all the passes in Switzerland with snow at the top. And that day, after 6 intense days of cycling in the Swiss Alps, we arrived at the top of a pass, and I was freezing cold. We were like shaking. We were so cold, and we said, let's go to the restaurant. And we entered the restaurant, and then we were soaking wet, and we realized that the price of 2 hot chocolates was more than half of the budget for the day. So that day we realized that there would be no more hot chocolate, there would be no more coffee on the small terrace. So it's really living a life of simplicity, as we say. It's putting the most precious, what we want, at the center. And what is most precious for us at the moment is time. Time, and time for our family also. And so it means that, yes, we never stop at coffee, even when we're soaking wet and we're cold, and we have our coffee outside. And I remember that day also in New Zealand, it was very clear for me. It was, again, a very cold day with, very strong wind, and we passed a small town, and everybody was very surprised to see us. So they started filming us and taking pictures and said, yeah, bravo, bravo, bravo. And then the first thing they did was enter the first cafe to sit and have lunch or have a coffee. And we went to the first park in the wind, freezing cold, to make our dish on the stove and drink our coffee that we had from our bag. And so it's a life choice that affects everything. And so it's not a holiday at all. We're living within the element. When it's snowing, we are in the snow. When it's windy, we're in the wind. When it's, we had experienced minus 45 degrees, but plus 53 degrees. So it also means that plus 53 degrees we are on our bikes. And so it's very intense. We also, when you're on a bicycle, there's no escape from culture. You are living with the people. You can't close the window, there's nothing to protect you. So you're really living within the culture, and sometimes can be quite intense. We were in Bangladesh, and we were always surrounded by 70 people, at least. So every time we would stop, there would be, I remember, because I was pregnant, and I always needed to pee, and I could never do that because there's always people. And every time we would stop, there'd be 1, 2, 3 person in less than 30 seconds. There was about 10 people. In less than a minute, there was 20 people. When there's 20 people, it means that there's something happening, so people run out of nowhere. It looks like they would appear from the landscape. And there would be 70 people looking at us, eating, doing everything. And so you can't escape that. You're there with the people. And it's great experience, but sometimes it's very intense. And you can't pause it. You're there for days and days. And so, yes, it can be very intense. And so our life is all also about, I like to say that you really have to have a mind of steel.
Please tell us about how did the trip and the way of living enrich the life of your children?
So I think the first thing is that we choose to keep going on this life because we had the chance to be together. This is amazing as the parents to see how our daughter grow, and this is a real chance to be together all the time. It's a great chance, but it's also a big challenge. To live 24/7 together, it's not that easy every day. We learn pretty well how to speak, how to communicate between us. But this is why we keep going. And Celine said it's a hard life sometimes, yes, but it's very happy life. We love this life, we love to be together, we love to discover the world together. And for our daughter, it's a school of life. They learn so many things. They learn with people, they learn about history. They don't learn about in the book. I mean, if they don't open the book and read what is a desert, they don't open the book and read what is the northern light. What means to be by minus 45 degrees in the cold far north in Canada. They learn because they were there. They learn what is Buddhism. They learn what is Christianity, Muslim, because they went to the mosque, to the temple, to the church. And this is a great school, I think. And I think we are very happy to see our daughter like that.
Yeah, and I think I would add two things maybe. One of the things that is very important is that they spend a lot of time in nature. And now we've been very surprised when we're in Canada that people are starting to speak about nature deficit, meaning that children don't spend enough time in nature. And it affects their physical abilities, their senses, also even their body, because, for example, the eyes are usually ovoid, and because of the screen, they start to get flat. And so nature, children need nature. For the senses, it develops their hearing, the way they smell, the way they look, the way they taste. And so there's more and more studies about nature deficit in children. And we thought, if there's nature deficit in Canada, where there's so much nature, what is it in the world? And so we're so happy that Naina and Phoebe spend so much time in nature. Because nature is their greatest teacher. And we usually, what is amazing is when, for example, we meet an animal. We've seen, for example, the antelopes in Canada. We didn't even know there was antelopes in Canada. And then we see them, we meet them. And what is great is that we are not the teacher, because we don't know neither. So we learn at the same time than they learn. So we're learning together. And I think that's amazing. So I really like they spending so much time in nature that they really, they really feel that they're part of nature. It's not something away from them. They're part of it. And then the other thing that I found is amazing is how much they feel that they belong to humanity as a whole. They feel that they have a family in Taiwan, in Serbia, they're part of the world. And we have met so many great people and so many welcoming people that for them borders don't really mean anything. For them culture, yes, they know that some people eat with a hand, others eat with a chopstick, others eat with a fork and spoon, but they don't see as it's different people. They see as we are one people. And I think that they really carry this in their heart, that we are really one people, and that I think it's great because I think if more and more children feel that we are one people, then there's more peace in the world.
Kad već imam mikrofon da iskoristite, ja nešto kažem, gotovo što se snima, mogu djecu pokazati. Mnogo mi je drago što su sa nama Elena koja je vaspitač, i to naš iskri vaspitač, Vesna je, koliko sam razumio, je u prosveti, da li osnovna ili srednja škola. Znam da Vesna strašno mnogo radi sa djecom u prirodi preko planinara i pravi ljetnje kampove i stalno ih vodi negdje. A tu je i Snežana sa nama koja opet radi sa odraslom djecom na fakultetima jer je univerzitejska profesorka. Zašto pominjem njih tri? Recimo, mene bi bila super opcija da ispriča koliko je naša iskra drugačija sada, posle 3 mjeseca recimo pauze preko raspusta ili 2 koliko je trajala, od toga mjesec i po dana putovala, u odnosu na ovu iskru prije putovanja. A sa Vesnom sam pričao o tome koliko naša djeca, mislim generalno našu djecu, koliko imaju problem recimo samo sa toaletom. Ajde mogu da razumijem da ne mogu da kake u tuđoj kući ili u prirodi, nikad to nisu radili. Ali ne mogu da razumijem da ne mogu da piške kad odu u tuđu kuću. Nego da budu po 2 dana na nekim aktivnostima i 2 dana ne idu u WC. To je ono što je veoma bitno kada bude ovakva jedna aktivnost. Zašto? Zato što djeca nauče mnogo toga, nauče prvenstveno recimo i to je fleksibilnosti, oni pričaju o mečki, nauče strpljivosti, nauče konkretnih stvari od geografije, od matematike, od tih nekih stvari povežu sa praktičnošću u prirodi. A ono što je najvažnije, nauče da je stvarno malo potrebno za lijep i efektivan život. Uzmimo situaciju njihovo dvoje djece. Vi na oko vidite da su to veoma srećna djeca. Naravno, naša djeca nisu 40 dana, bila su na putovanju i nije to dovoljno da oni naprave transformaciju. Ali to 5 djece, da ubacimo bilo koji prostor, oni će apsolutno naći zanimaciju. Od ničega će stvoriti nešto. Za razliku od druge djece koja, ako nemaju internet, posle pola sata će razvaliti rešetko da izađe vani, jer nije naviklo da koristi priručna sredstva, ono što je tu, da se igra sa tim. Tako da, putovanje koje je duže od 2-3 dana, jer mislim 2-3 dana da je veoma teško da i oni skontaju neke stvari, da ih uči prvenstveno fleksibilnošću, izdržljivosti, pa na kraju slučaju je bilo koliko ima do tog mjesta, 50 km, pa šta je to, ajde idemo. 50 km, djete zna koliko je 50 km, nije to 500 metara, mnogo djece 500 metara, skačem s teme na teme, ali uči mi učiteljica Teodorina, Teodora je 4. razred. Oni su imali svoju prezentaciju u osnovnoj školi gdje je došlo pa negdje oko 60 djece da ih čuje i postavili su bar 50 pitanja. I učiteljica im priča da u njenom 4. razredu imaju djeca koja ne znaju otići pješke kući. Sami, da. Meni je to poražavajuće. Da dijete 4. razred ne zna samo da ode pješke kući. Jer roditelji svaki put, baka, deka, nebitno ko dolazi po dijete koji ima 10-11 godina. A pri tome to nije Beograd. Kovačica je mjesto sa 7.000 stanovnika. Ok, Beograd, ok, Novi Sad, ok, Niš, pa i Kragujevac. To je ono što ova putovanja strašno mnogo daju djeci. I moram da ispričam i ovu anegdotu. Mnogo njih optužuje nas da mi maltretiramo našu djecu. Međutim, nije postojalo igralište gdje naša djeca nisu igrala sa drugom djecom. Negdje kod Osijeka se igrala dok smo mi kuvali ručak, vatrica i baš smo dobar ručak skuvali. Svašta je bilo. Mislim da su čak i ćevapi neki bili. I posle nekih 2-2,5 sata kad smo krenuli, možda čak i 3, kad smo krenuli, jedna djevojčica je rekla našim djevojkama, nadam se da me nećete zaboraviti. Mislim, to je meni stvarno vrh. Zašto? Zato što su djeca toliko otvorena, toliko su spremna, toliko su otvorenog uma. Ali mi ih sputavamo. Njih nećete čuti da kažu djeci, nemojte bosi da hodate. A pogledajte Xaviera u čarapama. Evo, samo dok evo, u čarapama, njihova djeca su postavili do bosa. Mi smo u Idvor otišli po njih i oni su bosi i to, da li na graničica, da li, ne. A prilaze drugoj djeci sa životinjama i tako dalje. Tako da je to ono što se uči neposrednosti, fleksibilnosti i jednostavno da ne postoje granice. Šta, mislim, da sad ne bude da sam ja pričam, pošto ovdje imamo finih komentara i pitanja, pa ću prepustiti Biljani. Hvala vam mnogo, nikada vam ovo neću zaboraviti.
There is a mom, she gave birth recently. Baby has 3 months, and she's still in the mood of knowing her baby, and she, you know, she has another identity as a mother, and she's interesting. How did you physically and emotionally keep going with new identity and with a little baby in combination with this life? It's a hard question.
Yeah, I need to think a little bit. Okay. So I think that one of the things I learned in being nomads is that because we're diving every day into the unknown, because we have a life where expectation cannot really exist, we don't set so much expectation about the other person. You know, as a couple, there's so many expectations sometimes with other people too, right? The way they behave, the way they're gonna react, etc. And so, because we've learned to have not so many... So what I was trying to say is that because we are living a life that we're diving every day into the unknown, and because we are learning, we have been learning every day that we cannot have any expectation. We also learn that we can't have an expectation with the other person, even in a couple, because usually we base our relationship on expectation, right? And so we expect them to react a certain way. We expect them to behave a certain way. And so by doing these expectations, we're kind of putting them into a box. And so we learn to kind of, open that box, to not be so... to be so tight on expectation. And so, because of all this, we learn to reinvent ourselves all the time. To not, to really be someone as you go. To change because suddenly you create something new, because you found out something new. And so, our identity is not based on something that is fixed, but on something that is moving. And so being a mom was not going from being, a woman to being a mom. It was not going from one identity to the other one. It was not taking the role of being a mom. Because sometimes that's what we do. We take the role of being a mom and what we think it is as a role. But it's not what it's asking us. What it's asking us is to be the mom of this child. And when you have another child, you'll be another mom for the other child, because it's another person. And so when you open like that, you're not into one identity and then another. You're just simply moving through life and through what is happening in your life. And so for me, it was not so much about changing my identity. It was just about discovering what, Naila was showing me, and moving as in the balance between what she's showing me and what I'm learning, who I am, who she is, and then there's no, role that was on my forehead. I'm a mom, and a mom needs to be doing that. I also did something that was very important for me. I did a lot of intuitive communication with Naila and Phoebe. And something that I also do in a way to accompany people to really learn, what is in their heart. And this intuitive communication with my children enabled me to get in communication even when Naila and Phoebe were in my womb. And so I got to be able to hear what they were telling me from the beginning of the pregnancy. And so for that reason, I had a way to communicate with them. And it was amazing. It helped me a lot, especially when they were very young, but it's still something that we use now. It's one of the two we still use, but it really helped me because I found out, for example, that when babies are crying, sometimes you've done everything, they've been fed, they have been changed, they've slept, and they're still crying. And sometimes they're crying pretty loud. And one day, my daughter was crying very, very loud, and I thought, something is wrong. She's probably hurting somewhere. And so I said to Xavier, hold her. I'm going to get an intuitive communication with her. And the message I received, in my brain, it wasn't possible that I could receive this message. So I blocked it. But then it came back again. And then the second I feel, the goosebump going all in my body, the second where I allow myself to hear the message, Naila stopped crying. And she was very peaceful after that. And the message was, I love you. And we always think that when a baby is crying, it's negative, something negative, or it's, something is missing, they need something. But maybe they just want to communicate something. It's just a way of communication. And it may also be positive. It may also be saying thank you or saying I love you. And this is why I think with these two, plus the fact that we were always changing our identity, always transforming, this allowed me to be able to take my baby into this trip. And I think it's a great tool, and there's also, I think it's not for only some people, it's for everybody. Everybody can learn this tool if you want. But that was something that helped me to do that.
Thank you. I know this story, but I'm always glad to hear again because it's amazing. And I want please share with us things that you said to me about fear and love and both sides. Can you tell us about something, please? It's also about parenting and child.
So it's not only about parenting and child, actually, it's about everyone. So for me, I really believe that there's two energy in the world. And one is love and one is fear. And if you think about it, those two energies cannot happen in the same time. You cannot be in fear or in love at the same time. You only are in one of these two energies. And it can't happen at the same time. And so it's always a choice, somehow, choice conscious or unconscious, to try to be in the energy of love or to be in the energy of fear. So what you think, what you say, your action, everything is related either to the energy of love or to the energy of fear. And when I realized that actually there is so much of what we do is based on fear. Not a fear that is, not a fear of a danger that is now, but a fear of something that will happen in the future. And when we are afraid of something that happened in the future, we're not living the present moment. And for me, what is very interesting is that we're always sending to the universe, we're always getting what we send to the universe. So if we send fear about the future all the time, we bring this fear, the same fear that we're afraid in our life. But if we can send love, then we get love. And one thing that I can say, and that, for an example, is that we decided to trust people, and we never lock our bicycle. When they're fully charged, we never lock our bicycle. And we've been doing that everywhere in the world, in all the countries we've been through, in front of huge supermarkets, or in front of, in a small street, in front of a small store, and we've never had anything stolen from us. Actually, the only time when we had a bike that fell out of the, small bike fell out of the bicycle because it wasn't fixed properly. We were in the middle of Bangladesh. It was in a human vortex of Dhaka, and somebody saw this bag falling out of our bikes, and he took it and he gave it back to us. And we were, he had to kind of follow us through the bikes, and he could give it back to us. So I really do believe that. But of course, the fears is not so easy, because we have so many inner fears. And that's always what I say to people. People imagine that the most difficult thing is to, we got kicked out of Forbidden Town in China. We had a drunken man that came in the middle of the night in Mongolia. We got a person coming in the tent with an axe in Syria. We had so many different experiences. But the most difficult thing is not these shock experiences, as I call them, but it's all the inner fear we carry with us. These are more difficult. It's all the bad scenario that we can, send to the universe and send to our mind, thinking, what's going to happen if? And these different bad scenarios, it's very hard. And that's what I say, the most difficult part in this life is that we don't have any protection from home. Our only protection is us. And so we have to walk hand in hand with our fears. We can't put it away. We really have to learn to take it by the hand and walk with it.
Thank you. And another question is, Vesna, you read that I want breathtaking film, and
is there a point of life
yes,
when you as a family was on the verge of giving up this kind of life, and why? What did you do to bounce back from this state?
Yeah, as Celine already said, we had some difficulties, like in China we were kicked out of town, and in Mongolia one time a guy arrived in the middle of the night. He was completely drunk and he wanted just to destroy the tent and to just disturb us, and we didn't really understand why, and why he came here in the middle of nowhere. It was in the middle of the Gobi Desert, and he saw us, and he just wanted to get some trouble. But yeah, this, and we had some very bad weather. We had some cold, some hot, but we never gave up. We didn't want to give up, but sometimes we said, but what we are doing here now. But after one day, after 2 days, we just realized that it was right, and we learned from this event, and we kept going, I think.
Yeah, I think sometimes because we are on a bicycle, we can't escape the situation. So that means that when something happens, we have to deal with what's happening. If there's a storm coming, we can't escape the storm. We have to go through the storm. But after the storm, usually it's very peaceful. And it's what happened is that we have to go through the storm because we cannot take our bike, go in a car, leave the place and fly back to wherever. It's impossible. So that means that we cannot go away from that, what's happening. And so when something happening, we don't have the time to think if we wanna go somewhere else, or we have to deal with what's happening, and that takes our full time. That takes our full mind. We don't have the time to think, I don't want to be here. I am here and I have to deal with what's happening. But then when the storm is over, then we have time to think. And most of the time, what we found out is that somehow there was a way. And somehow, you know, for example, there was always a good resolution. Maybe the people helped us. Maybe somebody came and said, oh, come and have a tea with me. And then somehow something in life happened that made us think, okay, that was okay. And then we look back at the storm and we can say, what did we learn from it? And when you can have the answer of what did we learn from it, then we have the resolution. And when we have the resolution, we have the lesson. And when we have the lesson, then it's like the treasure that you keep. And that's how we can always bounce back, is that we keep the treasure. We don't keep the memory of the bad experience. We keep the lesson of what we learn out of it. And from, of course, there was days where we think, what we are doing here, or, you know, I don't like the way this is going, and what's going to happen. But at the same time, we had so many treasure, we had so many lessons, that for now, I feel we are very happy to live this life and to continue this life. But also one thing that we do is we always ask our question. And I think that's one of the strengths, is that we always ask our question, is it right for us to keep going? We didn't sign up for anything. And we always say to people when they say, how long are you going to live this life? We don't know. We have no idea. Maybe in 2 years, maybe in 2 months even, one of us, including our daughter, will need something else. And this is okay for us. We already know about it. And maybe in 2 months, Naida is going to say, I really need something else to fulfill myself. Then we decided, and if this is the case, then we will, stop maybe to be nomad, or nomad the way we know, and then create a new life, create another life. Because if we could create this life, there's no reason we cannot create another life. And so there's never any going back, there's always creating something new that is right for us.
Yes, cycling always is teaching you to look forward and to
keep the balance.
Keep the balance, yes. Thank you. Never give up. Yes. Great story, thank you.
Da iskoristim priliku da kažem još nešto. Evo dok piše Vesna pitanje. Mislim da na ovakvim putovanjima roditelji ništa manje ne nauče nego što djeca nauče. Mi smo imali jednu situaciju gdje smo sjedili i razgovarali, snimali smo nešto za radio televiziju Kovačica i htjeli smo da to ne bude odgovor na pitanje. Gdje smo sjeli i pričali smo i snimali. I u jednom trenutku je Teodora, naša najstarija kćerka, je rekla, roditelji uglavnom misle da djeca mogu mnogo manje nego što stvarno mogu. Mislim da je to veliki problem kod nas, što smo i suviše zaštitnički raspoloženi, nastrojeni. I na taj način pravimo veliki problem, ne samo djece, pravimo veliki problem i nama. Da. Tako da to je ono što je naše mišljenje bilja također mnogo može reći, koliko je ona recimo naučila na ovakvom putovanju, koliko smo mi naše granice proširili. Opet ću ponoviti, ništa manje nešto što su djeca naučila, samo naravno iz drugog ugla.
That was my question a few days ago, but how do you like it? Serbia. Especially, I ask you, did you feel some energy in Serbia because it's the country where was wars, and etc. And especially Kovačica.
So yeah, Serbia, we were very welcome in Serbia. For the first time, we arrived maybe a week, 10 days ago, and we arrived in Novi Sad, and we were very welcome in Serbia, and really like the people, smiley people, very friendly. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky on the road when the roads are quite narrow and two trucks are crossing and we are on a huge bike. But except that, no, we are very, very happy to be here. And yeah, thank you to welcome us in your beautiful and very peaceful small town.
Yeah, I think we had a very nice welcome, and we could also do some talks in the school. And Naila could spend a day in the school. Naila and Phoebe could spend a day in school and kindergarten, and so it was a great experience for them to experiment this. So we're very thankful for the village and the school to offer this opportunity to our daughters. And yeah, we've been very impressed by the welcome of the people. A lot of people saying hi along the road. The day we arrived, there was the road was under construction, and we thought we were invited to a concert in Novi Sad, and we thought we're never going to make it to Novi Sad to the concert. And Naila thought, oh no, we're not making it, it's going to take another day. And the girls were very disappointed, so we cycled to some truck driver and asked them, do you think we can go through or not? And one of them, very, very friendly, he started calling the bus of the construction site, and the bus let us cycle through, so it amazing. So it was we felt very well welcome in Serbia. Yes.
Thank you. I need to say something in Serbian because I'm too much English for now. Ja bih žela s vama da podelim samo par stvari u vezi sa njihovom decom, a to je kada su bili u Kanadi, oni su takođe želeli da priušte to iskustvo svoje deci, da Naila bude u školi, međutim oni su njima dozvolili da ona prisustuje samo van školskim aktivnostima. Tako da iskreno, moram da budem iskrena prema vama i da kažem da sam jako srećna što je Kovačica kao jedno tako malo mesto, selo, prepoznalo tu prednost i za njihovu decu i za svu našu decu koja su u toj školi i što su dozvolili da Naila provede jedan dan sa njima u učionici, da vidi kako oni rade matematiku, srpski, likovno, kako dele užinu i tako, mislim, kako stoje u redu dok ulaze u školu. To je iskustvo jedno veliko prosto za svu decu, ne samo za Nailu, ali ja sam posebno, eto da kažem, stvarno ponosna na ove ljude u ovom malom mestu. Mislim, jedna Kanada koja je toliko velika nije dozvolila tako nešto, takvim ljudima, znate, a mi tako mali smo, eto, prosto priuštili i sebi i njima podjednako tu sreću i to iskustvo. I sa druge strane, Phoebe je isto takođe provela neko vreme u vrtiću i Phoebe je htela čak i da ode sama, bez mame, ali prosto u dogovoru sa rukovodstvom vrtića ipak je to bila neka prilično izuzetno nova situacija, prosto nešto što neobično, nešto što se nikada nije dogodilo. I ja sam apsolutno razumela svo rukovodstvo i direktorku i medicinsku sestru, ali, pazite, oni su ipak izašli u susret. Znači, uspeli smo da nađemo neku ravnotežu, neku sredinu i isto su tako, mislim, i Phoebe i ta druga deca doživala, znači, to neko iskustvo i ja sam izuzetno jako srećna, prosto mislim, sreća je mala reč, ne mogu prosto da opišem svoje emocije koliko je to jedno predivno iskustvo za sve njih. I isto tako želim da vam kažem da je Naila prvo najmlađe dete koje je prošlo u jednom delu južne Australije, mesto između dva grada gde prosto ne postoji žive duše, gde niko ne živi, gde nema prodavnice i tako dalje. To je neka razdaljina između 1200 km, a Phoebe je prvo najmlađe dete koje je prošlo Gobi pustinju. I danas sam baš pričala sa njima o tome i pitala sam ih, pa zapravo one bi mogle da uđu u Guinnessovu knjigu možda ili u ne znam neku knjigu da se to zabeleži. I oni su istraživali o tome, pokušali su to da urade, međutim, koliko sam ja razumela, ipak je njima bio potreban neki svedok da posvedoči svemu tome, a ljudi, i bilo je jako teško organizovati sve to, tako da sa jedne strane, neko moje viđenje, koliko god oni pokušavaju da, zapravo oni su za mene neki nosioci poruke, hoću da kažem, ovom svetu, ljudima u svetu. I oni pokušavaju na neki način da prenesu svoje poruke, svoje doživlje, svoje uvide, svoje avanture, svoj život, a sa druge strane shvataju da to čak zaista i nije možda toliko bitno nekada. I isto tako, vrlo često donose odluke da ne dele sva iskustva sa svim ljudima u svetu, što je isto tako, kako oni kažu, po njih dobro. You read?
Yeah.
Okay, can you... Then schooling, I think that was the
first question was about how we do tent schooling. We call that tent schooling because it's not it's our home, so homeschooling in the tent. And as I said before, it's everything is an excuse to learn. Everything is an excuse when we meet people, when we they learn languages, they learn food, they learn religion, they learn everything along the way. And yes, for sure, we sit down, we try to do every day, we sit down to teach them how to write, how to read, because we feel it's important, so we do some real school, like math and everything, and geography, they know geography because they went through all that country, so they learn along the way. This summer they learn about Europe, because we never cycled through Europe, so now Naila, she wrote down all the capital of the European country, and when she cycled, she just read on the panniers to learn the capital of Europe. So, yeah, everything is an excuse for school.
Celine, would you like to tell us about a story when Naila wanted to learn at 9 o'clock before bedtime?
Okay. So, homeschooling is, or tent schooling, because that's our home, is not so easy. When a long time, before we started homeschooling, many people were asking us the question, because they used to say, you can do that, keep traveling because you're coupled, but because the day when you have a child, you can't travel. And then with Naila, and then they said, keep cycling because now Naila is small and she cannot walk. And then keep cycling now because after, she'll go to school. And so a lot of people were always telling us, what will you do with school? What will you do with school? It was probably also because it was one of our fear. And we didn't know, we didn't have the answer. We knew homeschooling was an option. We knew that it was common in a few countries, like Australia, like Canada. And we were thinking about it, how could we do homeschooling? And at one point we realized that, I realized that it was a lot of weight on my shoulder to be able to homeschool my children, because I thought, this is so much education to give them, so much information, so much, it's hard, it's a big weight, I couldn't just leave them and go to school and not, in a way, be responsible for their education, for their academic education. And then, okay, so there was time passed, and I learned a lot about homeschooling, about different kind of homeschooling, and I realized that I could do that. I was able. I love to learn. I love to also share what I know. So I thought there'd be no problem. I could do that. But I still felt a lot of weight on my shoulder. And of course, when we stopped that famous winter, when you stop in the Yukon in the Great North, I was very excited because we're stopping for a few months for warm winter. So I thought, yes, great, we can, really have a time to set up something about school and to really, have a kind of a schedule. And I thought the perfect thing to do would be that at 8 we'd start, we finish by 10, we have 2 hours, two full hours of really schooling, because when you are one-to-one with one children, it doesn't take as much time as when we are with 25 children, of course. And so I thought, it's going to be great, we're going to start at 8, finish at 10, and then we'll be done for the day. So that was my great idea, except that Naila didn't like that idea. First, because she was very tired from cycling all summer, and so she needed a break. She needed to have time. She needed to have time to adjust to being in a house, because it's different. And people think that it's easy to get to a house because we have running water, but it's totally different to what they know. It's totally different to their balance. So it's hard. The 2 first weeks, they were unbalanced, and they needed to find their balance within the house. And so that part I didn't take in account. So first I just stopped. I didn't do anything for 2 weeks because Naila was either angry to do school or apathic. She would look at me like that. And it was, you can't, and I understood that you can't teach a child that doesn't want to know. But actually you can't teach anyone that doesn't want to know. And I also realized that even as an adult, I don't learn what I don't want to know. I can't learn what I don't like. I need to kind of like it. Or I need to know that I'm learning this because I can learn something that I like. But if there's no reason, I can't learn. I'm very bad at learning things that I don't want to learn. And so I said, well, if I am like that, then I can't ask my child to learn something that she doesn't want, to know at a time that she doesn't want to know. So that was the big first lesson. So then I said, okay, so I can't tell her the time, then I need to let her, I said, okay, we need to do 2 hours, you can choose. Whenever in the day. Then at 9:30 at night, she'd be like, hey, please, I want to do school. It's time to go to bed, of course. And so I said, okay, we'll do school at 9:30 at night. And in 20 minutes, she would learn more than in the 2 hours I was trying in the morning. So in a way, it worked fine, except that it wasn't in balance for me. So I said to Naila, we did that for about a week and a half, and then I said to Naila, this is not okay for me. I see that you're learning at that time, but I'm too tired. This is not the time I want to be learning with you. This is not okay for me. At 9:30 at night, I want to do something for me. I don't want to do something with you like school. So we decided that was not okay and that we had to find another balance. And then we found a balance about time that was better. And that is changing every day. But also the same thing with the subject. I found out that teaching them something that they didn't want to know doesn't work. So we use something that is called undirected learning. And it's basically using the interest of the child to learn. So we're learning a lot through project. For example, Naila was interested into the Great Wall of China. So then, the first thing we did was drawing the wall. Then we tried to write in Chinese character how it was written, because she was very interested in Chinese character and can speak a little bit of Chinese. And then she was trying to, spell the Chinese name for the Great Wall of China. And then we were looking at some information, we were reading the information. Then we were selecting the information that she thought was interesting. And then we were rewriting it. And while we were writing, maybe we were doing on a nice piece of paper, so she would learn to do, like perfect square with their compass. And then you learning, geometry while you learn on the Great Wall of China. You learning how to write when you learn about the Great Wall of China. You learning how to read, how to select information. And instead of just learning how to write a line of A, then she was doing project that interested her. And that's how she learned. And our children never did any line of A, B, and C. They hated it. They learned to write because they were writing letters to their friends or their grandma. And, first we were writing them the letters and they were just copying. And then they started writing by themselves. And so there's always a project. And this is what indirect learning is about. And so with all of that, I realized that instead of feeling the weight on my shoulder for all the education I had to transmit to my daughter, I could trust her. Trust this impulse of learning that we all have, that especially children have. And trust this impulse of learning to learn everything she likes, and through everything she likes, she will learn all the other things. I think this Ithaca, for me it would be the path, and I don't know if we have to give it a name, but it's something that a little bit something that what we realized, and it's very interesting because it's linked also with Chinese tradition. The Taoism and the Wu Wai, so the art of letting you flow through life. And there's something that we learn that I found it's quite interesting is usually when we want to achieve something, especially in our Western tradition, we like to set goals and to reach these goals as we go. So that we have different goals, and then we try to do small steps to reach this goal. So we have a big goal, and then we have small goal, and every time we try to reach this goal. Well, we never do that. We do some kind of the opposite. What we decide to do is to have a big vision in life, like a big project, something that we vision far away from us. But we never choose the way. We decide to let go on the way, because life is much better than us to choose the way to reach that goal, that vision. And that's what we learn, because in Kung Fu, what they do, you've seen these people that can, even these very old people. We had a master that was 80 years old, and that break this brick with his head. You've seen these people. Well, how do they do that? So first, they really believe that there's an energy of life that flows through life, which is called the qi. And what they do is, if they want to break the brick with their hands, they would kind of densify this energy of life, this qi, into their hands. That's the first thing that they do. And then the second thing that they do is they imagine a vision. But they don't imagine a vision of, I am breaking the brick. They imagine the vision of, the brick is already in half. So you imagine not something that's going to happen, because then it's never going to happen. You imagine something that is already there, like the brick in half. So you have already the vision of the brick is in half, and then what they do is they completely let go on the way. So they let go on how they will act to break it. And usually that's what we do, is we have a goal. We're pretty good in having a goal. The problem is that usually we envision it as something that is far away from us. We don't envision it that is something already there. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is we already choose the way. So we decided it's going to be like that. So when life suddenly is taking us in another path, we say, no, I can't go there. I want to go left. I don't want to go right. But maybe you don't know. Maybe this is the better way for you to go to that place. But you don't know. And trusting life, that is trusting life. That's what we do. We trust life, and by trusting life, we let go. We let go on the way. We don't know what the way is going to be. But we have a vision, and we nourish that vision. But we let go on the way.
Želela sam i ja da se uključim, nego baš mi je neko zvonio. Da, baš mi je neko zvonio na vrata, pa sam morala za čas da izađem, ali osjećala sam da ste me prozvali za onaj uspeh, da kažem. Evo sad da uključujem i kameru. Pa ja mislim da je to veliki uspeh i ja sam jako zahvalna i ponosna što smo učestvovali u tom njihovom projektu i jako mi je drago što je Fibi bila naša gošća i baš je na mene ostavila utisak predivan, znači ona je stvarno jedno predivno biće i hoću da kažem da je jedna devojčica po povratku kući dobila neku lutku i nazvala je Fibi, tako da su i neka deca onako baš bila pod utiskom. Kažem, lutka Fibi ostaje u Kovačici kao uspomena našu Fibi, što je bila naša jedan dan drugarica.
The doll Fibi stays in Kovačica like a memory.
I can read the message and the question and what advice would we give to a family who want to live this kind of life? And I would say, just try it and go.
Sorry.
So the question was about the advice. Which advice we can give to a family who want to live this kind of life, or a holiday, or for a few months, or whatever. So I would say, just try it. Just do it, and you will feel what is right for you. And it can be for a weekend, it can be for a month, it can be for a year, it can be for life. But don't be afraid. Just try. There is no failure. There's just experiment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Dragan also says there is no failure, there is only feedback.
Yeah.
But experiment is maybe different approach. Yes. And would you like to tell us just one more thing, please? Why Naila has that name and Phoebe? Why did you give them that names?
Yeah, I think all human beings, we think that all human beings, we choose our own name. So we whisper to our future parents what will be our name. So they choose the name. And we were able, and I think every parents are able to listen to the future children, and all of us choose our name.
Thank you. And what does it mean, Naila, and what does it mean, Phoebe?
Naila means a woman that knows what she wants, and Phoebe means pure. It's purity.
Thank you.
Ne znam šta mogu da kažem. Stvarno sam veoma sam emotivan u ovom trenutku, zato što je ovo za mene jedna ogromna čast što smo svi u ovom trenutku zajedno. Jer i ponovno se vraćam na ovom priču o širokim narodnim masama i o Litiji. Ono što smo mi večeras imali priliku da čujemo jedni od drugih, to je nešto što je stvarno za mene lično specijalno, ne može da znači da je za vas. Biće mi drago da neki drugi oblik druženja da nekad napravimo. Mi već imamo osobe čak iz Kovačice, imamo osobe koje već potvrđuju da žele da naprave jedno duže biciklističko putovanje sa nama. To je za nas stvarno uspjeh, iako to je ogromna odgovornost, ne bi sad ulazimo u to. Zahvalio bi se i našim gostima. Učinili su moj lično život mnogo bogatijim poznanstvom sa njima i siguran sam da će biti prilike da i u narednom periodu da se družimo. To sam ubijeđen. Mi ćemo podijeliti, mada već imate i njihov sajt i njihove kontaktove podatke. Ono što bih njih još da zamolim u ovom trenutku da kažu recimo koji su neki njihovi planovi u narednih 6 mjeseci.
Our plans about the next future. So after here we'll cycle throughout the Black Sea, and we might spend 1 or 2 months in the winter in Turkey. And after we don't really know where the wind will blow us.
So we'll cycle in Serbia along the Danube probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes.
No, I wanted to say thank you to inviting us here, and thank you very much, and to welcome us to your place. And
it was a great inspiration for us also to, speak with you, and we had a very a deep sharing, so it was very great. So we really thank you a lot, and of course for your hospitality and generosity. And I want also to thank the people that listen, that were here tonight, and thank you for your great message. And we're really happy to be here tonight.
Yep. Hvala.
Thank you. Izvini, volim te samo da dodam nešto, pošto sam ja puno toga zaboravila da kažem, jer ovo naše kratkotrajno putovanje je stvarno nama donelo puno uvida, puno spoznaja, puno učenja. Ja zaista nisam uspevala da stignem, imam puno započetih tekstova u telefonu koje sam počela da pišem i prestala sam, jer iskreno da kažem, nekad nisam ni htjela da delim neke stvari sa ljudima, prosto neke stvari znate i sami zadržavate samo za sebe i za svoju porodicu. Ali ono što sam htjela da kažem jeste da su, mi smo imali sate i sate razgovora zajedničkih, i, na porodicu i Paš i nas dvoje. I posmatrajući njihove kćerke i naše kćerke, prosto to morate samo prosto da vidite, da doživite, da deca koja su se tek prvi put vidjele, koje se ne znaju, druže se, igraju se kao da su 100 godina zajedno.
Za kraj, pre nego što se odjavimo, mi smo se upoznali preko Dinke Juričić, koja živi u Šaregradu. Bila je nekad urednik školske knjige Zagrebačke, pa kad je školska knjiga kupila Bigs, ona je prešla u Beograd, bila je urednik i divna žena koja je u penziji, stvarno jedna divna žena. Mi smo slučajno upoznali kad smo bili na putovanju, pozvala nas da budemo njeni gosti. I kad smo otišli, bili smo u placu, pozvala u kuću, otišli smo, spavali smo tu. Tako je bilo i sa njima. Ona ih je vidjela na placu, dižu šator, pozvala ih i u kuću. I to, kad se ode u kuću, nije to samo da bi bio čvrst smještaj, to je više razmjena kulture, kako žive, šta rade, kakvi su, od toga kakvi su zavijese, do toga kakav je escaj i tako dalje, i tako dalje. Stvarno se mnogo šire vidici na taj način, da. I onda je Dinka prije par dana, kad sam vidio njenu objavu o njima, povezala nas je i rekla mi je: Dragane, čitam njenu knjigu i plačem. Znači, žena koja bukvalno u 2 dana čita jednu knjigu, jer je to neka bila profesija, mnogo je knjiga napisala, a sada je to već navika. Tako da ne radim marketing, nemam proviziju, majke. Na njihovom sajtu imate i opciju i te knjige, ali također imate veoma korisne neke, ne savjete, nego korisne linkove. Ja sam recimo prvi put vidio link za dinamu koja proizvodi struju, koja može istovremeno da puni i telefon i aparat i tako dalje, i da radi rasvetu i to. Znači, podijelit ćemo sajt, ako niste već ga posjetili, ja sam srca preporučujem taj sajt. I dragi ljudi, šta da vam kažem, hvala vam od srca u moje lično ime, vjerujem i u ime supruge. I gura ga hoće ona nešto, mnogo vam hvala.
Da, ja sam krenula naširoko da pričam, ali sam se sjetila što sam htjela da vam kažem. U toku putovanja mi smo zaista bili ugošćeni od puno predivnih ljudi i dobili smo pomoć, neverovatnu pomoć od svih vas koji ste nas pratili putem društvenih mreža i putem poruka i na svakakav način ste svi nama jako pomogli. I po prvi put u životu sam osvestila da mi je bilo jako teško u životu da prihvatim pomoć, da primim nešto, da ja nešto uzmem, zato što je prosto to, ne znam, transgeneracijski se to nekako prenosi, naročito možda kada su žene u pitanju, ne znam, ja imam i 3 kćerke koje su došle na svijet da me nauče svašta nešto, pa sam to nekako uspela i kroz njih da osvestim. Ali ono što hoću da kažem jeste da kada je porodica Paš došla kod nas, ja nikada neću uspjeti da izmerim tu količinu sreće koju sam doživala u sebi, jer sam mogla nekom nešto da dam. Znate? I evo sad se sva ježim, to ne možete vidjeti, ali to je ono što potvrđuje verovatno i neka rečenica koju ste svi vi čuli sigurno, a to je da uvek je bolje, uvek je plemenitije, bolje, bogatije kad čovjek može da da nego kad može da primi. I to je neka, mislim, moj najveći neki uvid, moja neka najveća sreća koju sam doživala u životu jeste to što sam mogla da doživim taj osjećaj da ja nešto dajem. I poruka je da kad god sretnete ciklonomade, uvek odete, pitate jel im treba nešto. Koliko možete da date. Jer ne dajete samo njima, dajete i sebi, verujte mi.
Znači, Jelena, prolazimo sad pored tvoje kuće, pa sutra smo u Kragujevcu. Hvala mnogo, divni ljudi.
Hvala. Mnoga hvala.
Ćao.